Ala titrondiaum seo agus tro Microsoft Teams. Denmh cíneach go bhfuil na microphone ac a bhé an da chuidir Teams agus na fónich an live. Me ha se bheith géisteach is an netar hengachuch agus go bhfuil se bhar son bín cuiamh microphone is. Mistáisig sin iarri mi is chórliche dunnach amach genú is treudachuch le fachcal úrni.
O most gracious and eternal God, we give you thanks this morning for giving us the opportunity to gather here in the chamber and online as we come to the final series of meetings this year. And Lord, we see that here we have no continuing city and that time moves on regardless of age, and as we get older it seems to move on much quicker. And Lord, as we move, we have a look at our own journey in life, and you tell us very clearly in your word that you are the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And Lord, today we give thanks for the chair and all the work, and the vice chair, all the work they have done over the year in very challenging circumstances, with all the disruptions that have been taken in various connectivity we have with the islands. And we pray that their work is being rewarded and that we're seeing improved services on the horizon. And Lord, we pray for all council members and the communities that they have served and the excellent work that has been done over the year. And Lord, we see that the seeds that have been sown with the core and the officers and members in past years, that the seeds are bearing fruit. And as we move forward into the coming year, we pray, Lord, that you will be with us, and that as a united in unity in the council, as we move forward, that we see the excellent opportunities of the natural resources that you have provided for us, that maximum benefit will come to the islands, and that the islands will prosper and will see more and more people coming to live and work here. And in particular, that employment opportunities are provided for those that are younger with us and see the potential for staying in the island. And Lord, we give thanks for all the staff and the work they have done over the years in preparing excellent reports for all the committees. And as we move to the end of the year and the festive season, we pray that you would be with them and all their families as we celebrate the birth of Jesus, and in very, very humble beginnings. And Lord, we pray that we remember that whoever believes in you shall never die, but have everlasting life. And Lord, as we approach the cold winter periods, we must remember those that are suffering with lack of money, and in particular having to make decisions whether they put food on the table or heat their homes. Lord, we pray as a council that we consider and help them as much as possible over the difficult winter period. And Lord, we give thanks for so many organizations that are providing food banks at this difficult time. And Lord, we also remember at this time of year for the many that have lost loved ones and see an empty chair in front of them, that you be with them during the difficult times when they face life and the years ahead without loved ones. And Lord, we pray for all those that are in nursing homes, and we are so thankful for the call and working in partnership with the health service that they can provide such good services for those when they need them most in old age and when they're suffering from terminal and long-term illnesses. And Lord, as we move forward with another year ahead of us, we give thanks to you for the work that you have done and the guidance you have provided this council, and look into the year ahead, that we pray that unity will carry on, and as we look for a new chief executive, that you would be guiding all members, that we will be successful in appointing a new candidate. And as the Malcolm begins the start of the last year as Chief Executive, will remember the excellent work that he has done, guided by yourselves in the decisions and the way he has led this call over 20 years. And Lord, we pray that you would be with him and Chrissy as he starts a new life after such long, valuable service to this council. And we ask all those things in your name, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Ach belechte onochi. Chonio anesh ka klarig. An the day vi studie na conio chuin na lennis na cuine. Ma hasib na built-in comedy agus a fialach dro computer fac of camera aid agus microphone Ma ha officed in a fialach dro computer fac of and dachut mer siw pien as gno frikers kist. Chuin an gine buil agus officed go wel system feus in diombar. As mag ik garretje in de mics. I maak het in je veel a builske goanje, agus be een goor oonjen en stad. En nu je likkes een garretje a stui maak, arige en maak derek, gavi echt da maak derek ik amsen bi. Maar als je zo'n chilleke kist vaak over maak eet, agus ma ha afgekend in een pien als morlig in edef en nu route jenu. Het piavachus a horste vuile chomete. An a daif die klarig uit, femi builen jommerakel no kirche goed het eestig ver a wilshev. Het vastgeven gegaal, ek kuspere teeg, agus kuspere na hundi gagiak, agus tritiak gegaal, ek tidde na konju. Agus behoorste vuile chomete, agus na hoffike in immechi fuiig. Agus juren je luch komparst ele a konju akal. Ha mi reëlig go wel kusper en hundiek na graag eken, kus een bekorm ek chomedy berke geweest rond na re te goeien. Goeien kutig naar kuinje go wel goeien uit de klare, agus bi uit het larig line korle as dui na kuinje. Goos is in de nest kon een heet kusper keer hundesen goeien uit de gerola fiket geen doelten, daar wiele agus kook heriket agus a sjouwer son undige. Sjoe kundige. Dalle kusper gerhundes kunjo heitens i de dalle la tiek en davent da wiele agus kook heriket agus a sen son fistige. Kusper tri klare goed, maar hoe ik buil an a guspersen be klaar op behoorgaif senne klarig, we ga veel mal na nisig buil an over je wel te klarig oersem be. Dinge klarig oes, jammer, leine, met wel, tagbelef. Gerre kuspers tasbenug, e-system zo'n ticketen. Bewellem vaartje gaan gonjo goeie meester Davy Hamel, manager ski de eens gauw na Eilean pikke en Dylan skiën agus raaf zei. Agus lyriki meester Hamel tasbenig i system hicketen kalmak. Harit begin je heen ek een uitje kutje kinele ach bine David de Doshach. Martin waar David?
Martin Ashton.
Yeah. I'll let you continue in English now, David.
Please, Tapalev. So, hello everybody, apologies I can't be with you in person today. I'm on a training course this week, so I've taken some time out to join on Teams. And with me, I also have a colleague, Doug Lodian, who's also joining me on Teams. Doug is our head of IT products and services, and I would give him a huge introduction, but I feel it'd be a bit of a disservice to give him an introduction because I've only met him within the last couple of weeks. So I'll leave that for himself to do. He'll introduce himself to you and he will go through a presentation, which I promised. I'm getting Kenneth saying that he's not hearing. Are you guys hearing me okay, Austin?
I'm hearing you anyway, David.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kenny McLean can't hear us, but it may be he's going to leave and come back. So yeah, so Doug will go through a presentation that kind of gives us a bit of a story of where e-booking has come from, where it's going to, and why it's going to where it will be. Doug, are you okay if I pass on? Sorry, is there any kind kind of CalMac general questions, we can leave until later on as well, and I'm more than happy to stay on and take those at a later point in the agenda. But I'll pass over to Doug for the e-booking centric part.
Okay,
Amazing.
thank
Thanks.
you, Doug.
Thank you, folks. Very pleased to meet you all for the first time, and honoured, obviously, to be here. David, thanks for the introduction. I have a set of slides. Would you mind enabling the sharing, and I can enable I can share my slides.
That should be you, I'm told.
Not quite. Only meeting organisers and presenters can share at the moment on Teams. Oh, that's it. Perfect. The button's arrived. Good stuff. Technology. Okay. Hopefully you can see. Can you see the slide pack in front of you suggesting e-booking update?
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Perfect. I'll just maximize that into presentation mode. As David briefly introduced, to thank you very much. I've recently joined CalMac. So my name's Doug Lothian. I joined CalMac a couple of weeks ago, so I've only really been here since the 3rd of November. My role, Head of IT Product and Services, which really is to design, deliver the products that's going to drive the whole customer experience side and the business value going forward. Lots of words, but what does that actually mean? So for you guys, what that means is I'll be working with you and David, obviously, hopefully coming out, spending some time with you. Number one, because that's obviously part of the role. Number two, because I love actually getting to the islands, which is why I had St Kilda in the background on my note. Really working with you to understand what's currently working, what's currently not working, and then how do we make it better, and then putting that into a roadmap that will actually deliver for you guys. And that's the key role for me. So spending time with you is going to be key. What's my background? My background is actually building products. Initially working in the technology sector, moving into maritime safety, so working with the world's coast guards, rescue organisations, commercial shipping, building everything from systems to help vessels navigate better, to vessels being able to see and avoid obstacles, right through to detecting and rescuing people in the water with autonomous systems and machine learning. I volunteer in my spare time with the IMRF, which is the International Maritime Rescue Federation, and support those guys. So a little bit of background to myself and some of the things that we do as well. Jumping straight in. So what does all this mean for you? So over the last 2 weeks, we've actually had the team that build our booking system that you guys employ. We've had them over the last 14 days visiting a number of different ports around the CalMac network. The people who were here were 2 senior IDEA IT team members. So they were people who helped to design and build the infrastructure as well as the software that's employed. And really the aim there was for them to look at the operational environment that our systems have to work with. What are the challenges, not only with the software, what's the challenges with all of the supporting infrastructure, everything from the handheld devices right through to the wireless infrastructure, for example, that things communicate. They looked at over 14 different ports. They spent approximately 1 day in each port, so that they could gather lots of information about the process, what we do, when we do, how we do, all of the technology flows associated with it, and all the architecture supporting that. And we've identified a large number of improvements. So there's over 10 improvements that we believe that we can work with IDEA to push through that are going to be key. And those improvements and optimizations, we're currently assessing those to be implemented into the delivery roadmap. So it covers things like your network, the smart application that we employ, and the operational workflow going forward, and that'll go forward. What does that look like as a roadmap? Now, we haven't, this doesn't include the new items that IDEA have identified. This is the current roadmap that we actually have for fiscal year 25 and 26. And please, I've got time for questions at the end, so I do want to talk about this. But the way that formatted this is a number of themes, and they're the themes that over the last 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks that I've been here, I've heard people talking about. So I've heard people talking about capacity management. I've heard people talking about the booking flow, payment systems, general integration, and then improving efficiency of the staff. And really, these are the themes that we're looking at for the roadmap. Capacity management, first of all, we've heard and we've seen tickets coming through looking at people who have been unable to, for example, book onto the ferries to travel. So optimizing the use of deck space so we can prevent either underbooking or overbooking. Improving the way that lookups work so they can cater for a wider set of vehicles, which makes your job of booking easier, but it also makes the job of defining the capacity per vessel easier. That leads on to the configurable vehicle capacity. So actually, each vessel is obviously different. You guys know this. All of the vessel capacity and vehicle capacity is now or will become configurable, and that allows to reflect capacity more accurately. Large group handlings, so to make things more efficient, customer details for example, bus tours can now be added in bulk, or will be able to be added in bulk as opposed to individually. And then lastly, on the capacity management we're looking at here is for the commercial customers. We understand that there has been issues with no-shows at ports, which means that capacity may be booked that's never used. We're allowing we will allow the commercial customers to self-serve changes, which means that should reduce the number of no-shows, which should give you guys more capacity at those ports. And hopefully that'll resolve some of the issues certainly that I've heard about where there may be no capacity on the booking system. However, when you turn up at port, there is capacity. That should start to give you some of that capability. The booking flow, we do understand that the booking website and the booking app can be improved. So based upon some of the work, the analysis that we've carried out, we're going to improve the responsiveness of the website and app. So that'll make it more faster to use, more effective and efficient to use, but also changing the look and feel. We pick up our phones, our iPhones, and we look at apps every day, and we see how intuitive they can be. We want to make the app more intuitive. We want to make the website more intuitive to make it better for you guys to use. So really those initial focuses are going to be enhancing that booking flow and then making the positive changes that we can make to make things easier, more efficient, and just a nicer experience for you. Payments. All of us, when we go to the shops or go to an airport, have the facility on our phones to use digital wallets, and it just makes things a little bit easier. So we'll be introducing the ticketing on the digital wallet as well. You can place your ticket on the digital wallet, so you've got much faster access to it. So you don't have to open up, look for the app, look for the ticket, and then actually do the ticketing. You simply open up your digital wallet. That'll give you convenient and secure payment and ticketing options there, and it really, what we believe is that aligns with the expectations of you as the customers. Integrations. So a big focus over the next periods for us is going to be integrations, opening up the booking system to not only our own native apps and website, but actually opening them up to other people as well. So allowing the third parties, for example, ScotRail, to allow people to book both on the ScotRail app or website, but also to do smart ticketing, be able to book a rail travel as well as a ferry travel, and ultimately to be able to do that on a single ticket. So that'll make things much easier, faster, and simpler for you. And those integrations will actually allow us to make the website and the app much, again, I've mentioned the word intuitive, I've mentioned the word flexible, much more flexible, intuitive, and the potential that you could actually use a third-party app, not just the CalMac app, to do your daily thing. So if you're used to using an e-booking or some other application like that, it may be that you can actually do your booking on e-booking as opposed to the CalMac app. So offering that choice to you. And then lastly, staff efficiency. We need to make our staff more efficient, and that's both at the port side and on board the vessels, and that is really across the board on the vessels. We have our retail staff on the vessels, our hospitality staff on the vessels, as well as our ticketing staff, and it's working with those teams to improve what they do, when they do, how they do it through the digital means. And that's really our roadmap for fiscal year 25 and 26. I have questions at the end, but I wonder if, while this is on screen, is it worth just opening this up? And I'll leave it to your choice. Do you want to open this up to questions while this is on screen, or do you want me to leave the questions till the end for me to carry on?
No, I think we're quite happy to take questions now, Doug.
Yeah,
I
happy to
think when
that.
you have that on the screen. I don't know
Yeah.
if any of the members do have a question or not, but Councillor MacLeod does not let me down anyway.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for that, Doug. And it's great to see Calmac's response to the many concerns throughout the West Coast on especially the e-booking system, and that things are being done to change that. So thank you very much for that, and hopefully it will reduce the number of complaints that are coming in. It's and not only that, but it will also make life better for staff in the ports who are working hard to try and deal with the challenges that the e-booking system has been giving them. So hopefully that will make life easier for our hard-pressed staff. The one question I did have, but I think you are working on that, is for commercial customers, for account holders. Currently they can't book online. They have to phone during office opening time. I take it from what you're saying there that they will now be able to go online to book as well as to make amendments, or is it just to make amendments? They still have to book through phoning in.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. Thank you, and for acknowledging the improvements. The self-service portal will offer booking and amendments for your commercial customers. So the intention is to roll that out through. We'll be starting to work on that at the beginning of 2026, and that will be rolled out hopefully in the first half year in 2026.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's all I have just now.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Doug. That was a most illuminating way through the booking system. I'm speaking on behalf of the elderly that travel by bus, and I see you are going to have a ticketing system fitting in with trains, but are you able to do that for buses? And another aspect, for a lot of people I know of my generation perhaps, who are only getting used to decimal coinage, let alone going online. And so if you could look into that aspect, because some people just deal in cash. They haven't gone onto a card system yet. So I'm just wondering if you could look into that. And thank you very much.
No, thank you. Both good questions. Thank you. So on the bus, yeah, I mean, as part of the Scottish Government's smart ticketing, their intention and our intention certainly is to integrate with all modes of transport. So really the ticketing system will evolve, and it really comes down to the point there, the integration. Once we open up our connectors, then they should offer what's termed in the Scottish Government multimodal, but ultimately it's your bus, your rail, your ferry, potentially your tram as well, which then means that people will be able to use a single ticket to access bus and then ferry, or bus, rail and ferry, or potentially if there's tram. I know that's not necessarily in the Western Isles, but tram, bus, ferry, and train from a single ticket. So that certainly is the intention. The second question, 100% from a digital perspective, the world is moving digital, but there's lots of people who are not. I'm originally from the borders of Scotland, and I know many of my friends themselves have not moved towards digital and have no intention to move towards digital. So there's always going to be the capability for our people, regardless of age, to be able to access this through existing means.
All right.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the presentation, Doug. One of the things that I haven't yet been able to navigate through the website is how I can manage, there's quite a lot of us now of the senior citizens group, how to use the discounts that we have for a couple of free ferry journeys. you cannot apply them on the website. So I think that's something that could be looked into, because I mean, the regular times I go across with the car, I just have to pay the full whack. I don't tend to travel on my without the car, so I cannot apply the free passengers to travel. I think it's twice a year. I cannot apply that on the website, so I think that's maybe something you might want to look into.
Yeah,
Concessionary. I think the question was on concessionary fares.
Yeah. So concessionary fares similarly is definitely something that we are looking at. In fact, I know as part of the again I'm repeating some things here from the Scottish Government just simply because it's been a focus of mine for the last couple of weeks as I've joined. They certainly have a focus on the concessionary fares. Obviously, the term that they use is ITSO cards or ITSO cards for both, I think it's over 60s and under 22s. And then the other discounted options, they are all within the smart ticketing option that I have down there for integration. Perhaps I could have spelled that out better. And certainly next time we talk, I'll spell that out better within the roadmap to let you see. But that is certainly a focus of ours.
Yeah, it's one of the questions I keep asking David, I have to say, in terms of, I'm like Norman, I tend to just pay up anyway. Yeah. Ian.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Doug, for the presentation so far. My question is regarding improving feedback. We all know the ferry gets full during the summer months. What we don't know is how many people log on to that website, find they can't get on the ferry and don't come to the islands. Whether they're passengers, cars, whatever, it could be hundreds, it could be thousands. And I appreciate it's probably not the easiest thing to do, but is there a way that people could log on with an email address and you could a questionnaire urging them to fill it in just to say how was your experience? Did you get what you wanted? That does maybe exists already, and if it does, I apologise. But there must be a way of improving it to get that data. That's the kind of data that we could use here to, or in any island to improve the facilities and to get more people to use your ferries. Thank you.
Yeah, no, very good point. And you know, it's one of the things that I have noticed. I've only been a short time, but I think the data gathering, we absolutely can improve that. I believe that a conversation that I had yesterday, so I believe this is the case, that there is on the website a questionnaire or survey for people to fill in for them to put things back. But your point about actually being able to automatically monitor that is key. You can gather data, telemetry, however you want to call it, based upon who's logging on, what they're doing, how long they spend on certain pages, and whether they drop out of a process partway through. There are ways of doing that. We don't currently do that within our digital services, but that's absolutely one of the improvements that I've got down already on one of my lists, hence my question yesterday. So it's something that we will be looking into. In the meantime, the questionnaire certainly is gathered. One of the things I think the first point I think was that you mentioned was actually gathering feedback. I know our head of customer experience will be setting up a number of steering groups, and I believe the first one is going to take place in February. We haven't communicated this yet, but those steering groups are actually for you to be able to feed back some of these ideas and improvements, and I'll certainly be taking part in those with our head of customer experience. And these are all things that should actually go on there.
Okay, this is one of the asks we had originally out of the booking system was in meant demand, Doug. So yeah. Mustafa, if you would leave your light on in case you have a supplementary question, which you normally do.
I
So
waited so long, I think everybody asked the question I was going to ask, and I think it follows up from what Councillor Macaulay was saying. It's
can you
really,
speak into the mic, please?
yes, I am.
Yeah.
It's bullying, it's form of harassment. So, yeah, it's basically, I was just talking about having any idea to capture the sort of future capacity or possible capacity for future planning. Is basically talking around unmet needs. So if you have any ideas how you're going to tackle that.
I'm not aware. I wonder if that's one thing for David. It's not something that I've covered in the weeks that I've been here so far. I don't know, David, if you have any answer for that one.
With regards to unmet demand, sorry, Mustafa, was it how we can use that to project forward?
Yeah, I mean, especially obviously with going with the new timetabling and the new boats and
Yeah, and we obviously we've changed from using Compass data. Compass was our old system into e-booking data to figure out what type of traffic is on board and what kind of peaks and troughs we can see throughout the season. So we are using that data now to do those forward projections. And in fact, those that were in I'm certain those that are talking about the Little Minch timetables, we're probably looking at the e-booking data to put the numbers behind the different timetable options that are there to present what sort of capacity levels we might see in the future.
okay.
You want to come back, Mustafa?
That's fine at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, it's fine. Duncan?
I'm just wondering, you see, with the e-booking system, it was supposed to improve things. And from a business point of view, if you're investing the millions that you have done in developing a new system, I would imagine that one of the main objectives of it would be to make sure that the vessels were running to maximum capacity at all times. And certainly from my own experience, I would say that things got worse since I started doing e-booking myself, and being told that vessels were full, coming up and waiting in a queuing system, in some cases 20 cars getting on when they were being told they were full, and then there was still space left over. So I'm just wondering, on your new system, whether you're able to manage the management of capacity better, or what is wrong with a system that is showing a vessel so full. And if I was a tourist, going to come to the islands, and I saw, a vessel was full months or in advance when I was booking, I'd go somewhere else. So are you tracking what has happened since the introduction of the booking system, and whether ferry capacity has the percentage gone up so that you're travelling with less space available? Because from a cost point of view, that should be what you as a business should be looking, because if those people are not travelling, they're not spending in the cafeterias and that. So the multiplier effect, I worked it out on one journey that I was travelling on myself, and if that was replicated on a daily basis, it's running into huge amounts of figures. So so you're saying capacity management, are you positive or absolutely certain that things are going to improve? Because from a community perspective, if you're running a business, and if B&Bs if you're running a bed and breakfast in the island, you're looking at the maximum number of people can come to the island, and if they're being put off by being told very early on that a vessel is full, there's a huge hemorrhage of additional income that could be coming to the islands and being lost to the islands, and also lost to you as a company.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that it's a valid concern, 100% a valid concern. It's something that we are looking at now. As I understand it, from both a historical customer and now actually working with CalMac, I understand that the issue is the real-time booking. So we now, as a service, offer a real-time view of the actual capacity of the vessel at that point in time. So if we do have, when we mentioned the commercial customers, if we have a large number of commercial customers, for example, pre-booking for capacity, that will fill up the vessel, and unfortunately, it may mean that it's full. However, that commercial customer may also, in the preceding days or weeks, decide to cancel, and that would then free up capacity. So you're right, there may be, during the point that the vessel is full, people being turned away. We may also be then regaining by other people coming along and booking. Offering more flexibility for the business-to-business aspects, offering the portal, I think is one way that'll allow the commercial customers to be able to book on and book off out of hours, which should free up that easier, and offering real-time views. We believe at this stage is the appropriate route. I'm not sure if that answers your question. We are looking at it. We're trying to see what we can do. We're trying to be, I guess, more accurate by optimizing the use of deck space, as I've mentioned in that capacity management, and clearer lookups for vehicles that give appropriate lengths of vehicles. David, I'm not sure if there's anything else that I've missed that I should cover.
No, I think you touched on one of the key points at the end there, Doug, as well, and it's that optimising the deck space and the view of the deck space as well. So we're going through a bit of testing at the moment, and it will be implemented really quite quickly, I believe, is that whole kind of look towards how the Loch Seaforth is, how we manage the capacity and the size of vessels taking up, size of vehicles taking up space on the Loch Seaforth car deck. I put it this way recently as well, and without rubbing out all the lines and remarking all the car decks, it's every vehicle needs to have some sort of coefficient to it to understand how that interacts with the space that's available on the car decks. And there are things that we do that mean the car decks can fit extra people on. We push cars out of the lanes, we squash people in to get as many cars as possible on. Now, that's obviously not a space that can be bought, that's a space that we can create on the day. So it's things like that we're getting our head right under and trying to implement that. And I expect that I'll have a message going to Euston within the next few days to week, just on how that implementation is expected to go and when it's happening.
Yeah, the only thanks for that. The only comment I'd make, when you make reference to the Loch Seaforth, there is a freight ferry running, at night time. So the situation should in fact be less on the Loch Seaforth, because, the freight, I would imagine, shouldn't be block booking on the main, on what is, a car route for the other two journeys. So I would have thought that it would be less of a problem, when you've already got a dedicated freight ferry between Stornoway and Ullapool. But I would hope that the new system can accommodate so that there's maximum benefit for you as a company and for the community as we move forward. And technology should be in such a way that it should cope and make sure that the ferries are running full when particularly at the height of the summer.
Okay, thank you, Doug. And do you want to comment on that, Doug or David, in terms of the block booking on the Seaforth when you've got the freight vessel?
We obviously do allow commercial customers to book on the daytime services as well. Some commercial customers, their business model relies on them getting on the daytime services because they need to come in, move around trucks and get back out. So I don't believe it will be something that we would move to where all commercial customers need to go on the nighttime services without any further investigation or collaboration. Justin?
No, I wasn't implying that at all. What I was saying is that, it should be less of a problem on the
well, because some commercial customers aren't on the daytime services. Yeah, it's less of a problem until loads and loads of cars try and book on. So you are right, we've got more space on that for cars. The problem is still there. So we are working towards that, optimising of the car deck and optimising of the vehicle coordinates to make as Doug said, a more realistic and real-time picture of what the Loch Seaforth can take.
Okay, thank you, David. Leader.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Chair. And I suppose linked to the previous question, it's about optimising the deck space and also the type of vehicles. So obviously freight, how do I phrase this? Will there be a policy on the amount of freight or the amount of motorhome camper vans that can get on any one sailing? Is that something you'd be looking at in terms of optimizing space? And I suppose what I'm really getting at is the electric vehicle situation, the amount of electric vehicles you'll be able to take on any one sailing with on a vessel. Are there dangers linked to the amount of electric vehicles being on at the same time? And is that something you'd look to put caps or capacity limits on?
Right, there's a difficult question for one of you.
That was a difficult one, Paul, thank you. With regards to freight and motorhomes, camper vans, I'll leave that one part for the time being, Paul. I don't think there's any need, well, not need, but any path just now that we're looking to cap in any of the motorhome type vehicles. What we do have though is that we've got ferries where these vehicles can only go in certain places, so motorhomes can't fill up. We won't get to a stage where a motorhome only sailing appears on Stornoway. That won't happen because they can't, or they shouldn't be able to fit under the mess decks or on the mess decks and the like. So that won't get to that point. Electric vehicles, in my opinion, there will come a point where we do need to put some sort of cap on electric vehicles, and it's because of some of the equipment that I've just talked about there. Is that it's the mezzanine decks on the vessels. Mezzanine decks can only take regular vehicles because of the weight involved in the electric variant of the vehicles as well. And again, we spoke about this last Thursday, and I commented that a regular internal combustion engine type Renault Clio weighs a ton. An electric version of a Renault Clio weighs around about 1.6 tons, so the difference in weight is quite substantial. Putting them on the mess deck would mean that we would be putting more pressure on the wires and on the machinery that delivers that facility, and it's not the purpose of it, but then we would get into more breakdowns potentially like we had on the Hebrides a few months back where the mess deck was out of action. So we'll need to do some calculations about the amount of electric vehicles that are coming on board and the amount of electric vehicles that we can potentially take as well, and where we put them. And apart from that, Paul, that's really the only information that I have.
Want to come back, Paul?
No, that's okay. Obviously, there's also the risks involved if something goes wrong with an electric vehicle on the vessel. I know that's a concern that you have yourselves, and across Europe at the moment. I think there's concerns in Norway about electric vehicles. So yeah,
they're definitely not as easy to get off if they stop moving, and there are further considerations around the firefighting aspects of it. And I offered to Ustin at the Harris Transport Group, and I'm happy to open it up, the offer to the Comhairle as well, as we had a very interesting presentation from one of our directors to the ferry committee, and it was about how we plan around that and how we mitigate any concerns around the fire aspect of it and the firefighting aspect of it. So if that's something that you would like me to bring to this this forum, I'm more than happy to arrange that. I think the screen's frozen for me, the main feed.
Yeah, I think the main feed's frozen as well for me.
Yeah, it seems to have dropped off. That must be reconnecting, Doug. Okay, they've put a message in saying they're just adjourning for 5 minutes, Doug, so time for a comfort break and a coffee, I think.
No worries.
Yeah, I'll see you back soon.
10 minutes. Bye-bye.
Back in, please. I think we're back online. Are you hearing us, David?
I am. Yes, I am.
Aye, we had some problems at this end with the technology, unfortunately.
No, it's okay. It cut out just as I was making some commitments, so that's fine.
Anyway, our IT expert is going to stay. He's not. So we cut you off, I think, mid-sentence there, David. I don't know if you can remember what you were actually saying.
Yeah, sure. So it was in response to the council leader's point about the EVs and what electric vehicles we had on. So I'd gone into detail about how we will get to a point where we'll need to manage the ratio of electric vehicles coming on board. And I do believe that we're looking at an improvement to the booking system where we will be capturing that fuel type. So it'll give us a much more forward look at as to how many vehicles are expected to turn up to any one sailing. I also said that one of our directors, Alex Cross, made a really good presentation to the Ferry Communities Board around how we would plan to, or what mitigations and plans we have in place should an electric vehicle catch fire on the car deck. And I'd made the offer to have that presented to the Harris Transport Group midweek, and I was making the same offer if it was wanted for the Comhairle as well, and I can organise that presentation if it would be of interest.
Yeah, there's a few people nodding their heads, David.
Okay, I'll take that action. That's an hour in, I've only got one. Okay.
And I think I'm expecting a question from the Harris councillor.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I don't want to disappoint you. Thanks, David, for that. Just a quick thing on the deck optimization exercise. Would it be possible to share the results of that with ourselves? As one of the big concerns we have is the ability of the vessels to cope with what's coming in the future, and if between electric vehicles and all the other concerns you've got there, not being able to take everything that the demand is now, let alone the increased demand, then at least we then have stronger figures to strengthen the case for that additional vehicle, certainly on the Stornoway run, and also ensuring the 3 crossings a day on the Uig Harris run as we move forward.
Yes, I'll definitely be able to bring the results of what we see following the deck space optimization on the Lewis route. Once we get a good sample of data on that, we can come back with what that looks like and what we've been able to be made available to customers. The projection for the amount of electric vehicles we would see appearing is probably going to follow the projection of the amount of electric vehicles that are coming onto the road and replacing regular vehicles. So let's think about that, and we'll think about how we can maybe project that going forward. But yeah, I'll bring that as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think the electrical vehicle one, purely from a safety point of view, a maritime safety point of view, is there will be an issue coming up as to how many that can safely be dealt with, and if there's an issue, that the vessel is capable of dealing with it and putting those fires out. And we've seen the devastation that an electric car can cause on a car transporter, and I would hate to see anything like that happening on one of our ferries. So I think it's important that we are prioritising safety when it comes to electric vehicles.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Ian, Councillor MacLeod.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, David, for the presentation. Just kind of following on the electric car kind of thing. I mean, I'm not sure our new ferries got missing index, and if they have, the ones that are in build at the moment, has that been taken into consideration and operated the capacity or whatever of them? Because from 2030, we'll only be allowed to buy electric cars, so this is going to be a real issue.
Yeah, so the new vessels do have mezzanine decks, and my understanding is that the mezzanine decks are rated for a lot more weight, but I'll need to have that. I'll need to make that confirmation and get back to you on that.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions on this particular segment from Doug? No? Okay, thank you, Doug. You can move on to the next slide.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Okay, next slide. Now, I fully expect some feedback on the next set of slides. So I'm presenting them as factual slides, but I do understand that there'll be questions. So I'm opening that up right now. Okay. So if we look at what I'm going to show you is some statistics that have been gathered really since the introduction of e-booking until now, looking at the number of what we call incidents, but tickets, number of tickets that are raised in our help desk system. Now, a ticket may be anything from a cosmetic, something, a misspelling, misplacement, or a flow of something, right through to something that's quite serious that affects the functionality. You're unable to do something. I'm unable to for example, complete a booking. Now, the way we measure it is items raised as a ticket. Every incident is raised as a ticket, and then every ticket itself is given a severity rating, where severity 1 is most important, and severity 1 is where there's functionality not working, simply cannot complete a booking, through to, for example, a severity 3, which is, unfortunately, you've spelled booking wrong. You've put 3 O's instead of 2 O's. So just a bit of an explanation. So if we look at that, throughout the period, you can see the graph on the bottom left is probably one of the most telling. It shows that from e-booking first going in, there's quite a large number of tickets raised, and that increased between 2023 and 2024. But we've started to see a drop in number of tickets raised since that. So that's quite a positive trend that we're starting to see. There are still issues, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat and say there's not issues, just saying these are the trends that we're starting to see. High severity, medium severity, low severity tickets. There's a relatively low number of high severity, and most of the tickets here are low. So the things that are hopefully relatively easily resolved, and those are some of the trends that I'll show you in a second. And what we've managed to do over that period from 2023 to 25 is close most of the tickets that have been raised. So over 85% of tickets have been closed. And at the point of time that this data was taken, there was still 15% of tickets raised. So that's just a general trend of tickets. If I then look at the trend of severity, so the green line is your low items, severity 3 items. Your blue items are the most urgent ones, and this is where, for example, the functionality of a service has failed. You can see exactly as we saw in the last chart, there was a peak in 2024, but all ticket types are now starting to fall off. So that's quite a good thing that we're starting to see, but there are still problems. Fully acknowledge that there are still problems. And then if we actually look at this on a month by month, as we'd expect, if we're doing a count, and you can see the graph in front of you is normalized through January through to August for 24 and 2025, you'd expect to see more tickets during a time when there's more people using the system. And that's exactly what we see. So we actually see that there's more people perhaps using the system earlier in the year, during some of the holidays, and then later in the year during the summer months when more people are traveling. But what we are seeing is an overall reduction in number of tickets overall. The main trends, and this is taken from the type of tickets that are being raised, the main trends that we're seeing and the themes that we're seeing for those are, some of them are data removal. So someone's registered and they long to be registered, or they want things to change. So requests for customer account closures, removal of data or changes. Swapping issues, ship swapping issues. And I have here a note saying that these were resolved in July 2025. I have to take that on face value. Unfortunately, I don't have the background to that. And then the next theme is the minor transaction issues. And we spoke with the councillor earlier with the discounts not being applied and perhaps being unable to cancel bookings. These are transactional issues that can often be resolved, not necessarily in the app, but resolved through a phone call and resolved afterwards. the actual functionality, as you mentioned, needs to be put into the app and into the website to make sure that happens. So those are, before I move on, I fully expect people to have comments on these trends, but what I thought I would do, and hopefully we can do this in the future meetings, we'll present these statistics so that you can start to see how things are changing, hopefully continuing in a positive direction. But if they're not in a positive direction, we can then start to put actions in place to make sure that that we do return it to a positive direction.
Okay, any questions on these slides from anybody? No, everybody seems quite happy.
Good, good.
Oh, Councillor MacLeod. Thank
Was there
you.
one, is there?
No, we do have one.
Sorry, just a wee minor point. I know you're referring to these issues as tickets, but actually they're issues, and
They are issues. They are issues.
yeah, issues, and tickets seems to minimise them, whereas we book tickets to get on the ferry, and when the tickets don't work, we have issues, and just a wee thing on my own part, that just it doesn't feel right to be talking to issues and challenges that we as customers have as just tickets, as you pick up at a daily counter to join your queue.
Yeah,
That was
I acknowledge that. Absolutely acknowledge that. It's the. I guess we're using it's what I'm trying to do is avoid jargon, although I realise I've put that in here. The industry term is tickets on a help desk, but they are issues. And if you actually look, I do actually talk about defects here. Certainly from a technology perspective, every issue has a resulting root cause, and that root cause tends to have a reason, and we talk of those reasons as being defects. So the problem is something that's defective in the product. So I know internally we talk about issues and defects, however the industry term is tickets. So I fully acknowledge what you're saying.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Anybody else got any questions on these slides? No, I think you can move on, Doug.
Good. Look, just a little bit more information. This is a busy slide, so apologies, but it was just, I'll bring out some of the key points. So there was almost 1,300 issues have been identified and have been fixed, and 13 quite large change requests and enhancements have been introduced since the go live. And those had again a number of themes that we're looking at. And the themes tended to be, improvements for ticket verification and the general e-booking website to try to improve the customer booking journey. And again, I acknowledge it's not there yet, but we'll continue going down that route. Hopefully, there's more informative design of paper tickets, and you've seen that coming through. And that helps obviously our colleagues at the ports for the scanning process. Enhance the disruption and rerouting processes, and improve the process for selling 10 journey tickets. I understand there is still a potential issue in the 10 journey tickets that's being looked at the moment. And then obviously the introduction of new payment options. So we're looking for continual improvement, and the process certainly that I'm looking to implement, I was talking to David about this earlier, is what I'd like to do is to make continual iterative improvements. So moving almost away from big bang releases to iterative improvements that happen over shorter periods of time, so you can start to see a steady improvement of our systems as a whole, which should see a steady improvement of the effectiveness, efficiency, and hopefully satisfaction for you guys as well moving forward. Lastly, we've started, I think historically these have been internal, but we are measuring our customer satisfaction and our technology statistics internally, and we really, again, happy to show these at the meetings that we have going forward. But you can see here some of the customer experience key performance indicators, as we call them, and then the technology key performance indicators that are available today. Again, we may change what we actually display in these, but these are ones that we've looked at in the recent past. And as you can see, our customer satisfaction scores are at the 52 to 46% level, and there's been some reduction month on month that we can see there. However, you throw on the other side and you look at our systems are highly available, and the changes that we have been implementing have tended to be implemented successfully. So really, that's just an indication. I didn't really want to spend too much time on it, but I think we should be sharing some key performance indicators with you, and we'll share these going forward. Any questions on any of that before moving on?
Peter?
Thank you. It's really interesting presentation. There's been a few things you mentioned that could be really useful for us going forward. It was the data gathering, so you'll be able to see what people are actually doing, whether online and booking. Yeah. And also you mentioned steering groups for feedback and ideas and improvements. So just around that, I know personally I've been on the app trying to book things and it freezes and I can't click back. So yeah, you have to close the app and restart, but I'm not registering that. I'm not putting in a complaint about that. So there are all these little things that you're probably not going to pick up, because people, although they like to complain, they're probably not going to complain through official channels. They're going to go on social media and put lots of screeds and posts about it. So my question, just in relation to the steering group work that you're going to be doing coming forward, will there be, I suppose, a wider opportunity for the public in general to feed into maybe an online option to kind of coincide with the steering group feedback?
Yes, I think we mentioned earlier on, certainly on the website, I believe there is a feedback option already, and then on the gathering of the telemetry, the data that will show if someone did exit or were forced to exit because of a failure in the process. All that data will be gathered going forward, and that's something that's on the roadmap, and we'll use that to help improve the process. It helps us. If you think about it, there's a couple of things that we can do. If we find that people are struggling with the flow, or they're getting to a point and stopping, it's either because of an error, or it's because they're unable to proceed for some other reason. That helps us to design the system better. But equally, if we find that lots of people are starting to fail at a certain point, that could point to something that's a little bit deeper. And then it may be an issue, for example, with the technology. So it helps us also to manage in real time the service. It may be that we have to do something with the server, for example. We actually have multiple servers. It may be we have to do something with the servers in real time, which means we don't have to wait for reports. So that telemetry is going to be very, very useful.
Yeah, obviously the feedback that you get is important, and it is right that people actually do complain and put in their feedback if there are issues. So yeah, just to kind of encourage that. Yeah.
You know, I absolutely encourage that. I think it's all about communication. And the more you tell us the ideas that you have for improvement, but also the issues that you're having, the more we can improve the system. So it's all about communication. And I think these sort of forums are great. I think face-to-face forums are ideal, where I know David spends a bit of time with you, but myself and some members of my team coming out and actually spending time with you is going to be key.
Do you want to add anything to that, David? I know you're looking at this.
Well, I'm looking at it from two lenses at the moment, but yeah, the intention was always to have that boots on the ground, talking to the customer and understanding the product and understanding the user, which Doug has absolutely every intention for. So I'll make any changes and any introductions that are needed, but I think really the most important thing we can do is have user groups from different communities and different demographics, and how do we spread that across will be up to Doug and his team to really understand. But I think it's going to be key that we do understand the customer, we do understand the product that we have and how those two may intertwine, or like we were talking earlier on and Malcolm brought up, sometimes they don't intertwine, and sometimes we need to make sure that we are protecting our current service to make sure that we do consider all the communities involved.
Right, any other questions? Anybody? We all happy? Is it possible to get a copy of the presentation, Doug, David?
Yeah, I believe we shared an earlier version of this earlier in the week. I've updated it slightly. I'm happy to send this out to. I'll send it via David to yourselves.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both very much. I hope you get on well, and you've done well with the presentation and what is a new job for you, Doug. So well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And David, carry on with the garlic lessons as well.
I'll keep on going. I'll keep on going.
Okay, thank you both very much.
You need me to stay for anything else, Justin?
Well, anybody got any other specific Calma questions that you might want to ask? No, they're all delighted with the service, David. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, you all have my email address, so if you do need to get in touch at any point, then please feel free.
Make sure you sort out your mobile phone, by the way.
I have done already.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, cheery.
Right.
Thank you much, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right, cóis in as go cúspar cóg an as gus an fisrach a mínach urs le piavachas an ro ílachach na rinne son unit grachas sa bhún agus bunstructor blini columach canis an as agus ficti kishtin sa be. Column.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in the report. I'm happy to take any questions on it. I'll just maybe highlight a couple of things. Again, we're going through some challenging times. We're looking at budget savings exercise again just now. There are always challenges with maintaining our infrastructure, be it roads, buildings, piers, harbours. So that's very much in our minds as we're going through this budget setting exercise. We're also preparing for some major infrastructure works, as you're all aware of as well, through major wind farm developments and working with them to protect our infrastructure. And we've also got delivery of the Community Renewal Fund works as well, significant road works in Hughes and Barra there. So that's some challenges just going forward in terms of delivery. I would give an update as well on R100 on Project Gigabyte. BT Openreach have started working here in the islands. They hope to come to committee here in February to give more of an overview of what they're doing. Just now there are various links to progress, but it's very much at a high level. I've got fortnightly or monthly meetings just now with the Openreach director, which I'm trying to focus on understanding where the main elements of work are and where any gaps may be. So that information should come your way over the coming months, and certainly an update from BT Openreach in February. So I'm happy to take any further questions on the report here.
Shake, will Kishtik Dennis be? Your line, and you? No. Ian Archie.
Een minuutje.
Gaf doen, ja?
Zeg die machine.
Hij is bien toch aan wij kuttig.
Maar die kan hem toch in een kistje.
Nieuws?
Thanks.
Nieuws?
Thank you, Chair. I was just to urge the department to really push SSEN to get the roadworks done. I personally feel quite strongly about this because I feel there is so much to be done on the Lost Road particularly. And I urge you to really push them hard to get as much. I know they have come forward and said there's quite a lot that can be done, but I want the utmost done from the department to deliver on it. And the other question I had was a question really on the R100. What was the rationale for the areas that were chosen for fibre to the home? And why were some areas left out at this stage? I mean, that's a question I can ask when they come in February, but if you have any information at the moment, it would be good to share that.
Come Solis Secretary, please.
I share concerns over the roads infrastructure, and particularly where the interconnector substation is going to be located. So we will work very proactively, hope with the SSEN to make improvements there. In terms of the question on R100 and Project Gigabyte, that is an element that BT OpenReach we're going to cover with you in February. However, they're looking more at just now at centres of population of where they can get the biggest gain to start rolling the fibres out to households. One thing that they are encouraging is that people can sign up to fibre broadband just now in advance so they know what the demand is. So you can do that on their website. But they have actually started as well on the link between Garnahein and Timsbury as well. So they're looking at centres of population. They've started in the Garbust exchange, which is the point area. They'll then do Broad Bay. They've done the survey and they'll start work in the back area. They'll then start developing more of a plan so we can see where they're going next. But they have actually started on the Garnahein to Timsbury link as well. So I'm afraid I'm a bit sketchy with my information just now, but you will get a lot more information when they come here in February. Meantime, if there are any questions that you have, I'm happy to take these away and get answers to you in advance of that, if there are any.
So coming back on the first point, it'd be good if you could, Mr. Mackenzie, involve the Lochs councillors, particularly possibly the Harris councillors, in dialogue with SSEN for the roadworks, because it's important that we get this right from the very beginning. And the second point was on the R100. I have concerns in the Lochs ward where some areas don't even have fibre, they don't even have cabinet connection at the moment, and that seems to have been overlooked. So a couple of things there I would like to keep on the go.
Thank you.
Mr. Ava,
My question, it's just a small question, Callum, sorry, regarding the Linacla 3G pitch. The lights have been reported to have been off for a while, and now that it's impacting participation in the winter. We can't use it at all. So if do you have any time frame when this is going to be repaired?
As soon as possible. The lights are practically in order. We're just waiting for delivery and an installation timescale. So it's imminent. When I get a delivery date for the lights, and I'll let you know.
Thank you very much. And the other one was we talked about some improvement in Lochmaddy a while ago. You were planning some improvement work there, but you weren't sure about the timeline. Are you any clearer about?
That will be imminent. That's on the pavements and footpaths.
Yeah.
Yes, that's imminent.
Thank you very much.
all right. All right. Norman and Dosha. Oh. Check.
All right.
It's a notion that
Tafla, it's just for Kala, yeah. When you mentioned the sort of SSEN, and I went to the N4 consultation last night, well, the final one. Over it was in the Barrows Hall, so I went along, and I was more interested in the actual haul route they were taking. So I started asking them a few questions, and to be honest, I was rather concerned with the answers I was getting. I don't know how they've been in touch with you or anything, but one particular question I did ask, along with others, was I mentioned the rivers that they've got across, you know, and I asked them how they were going to do this, and they came up with some sort of idea, and I said, well, I've seen them in Spate. I don't know if you guys have seen them in Spate. You know, I was asking the fellow, but there's a lot of water goes down there, and you can see the existing culverts and bridges that are there. So you would have to do something similar. Otherwise, your infrastructure is going to wash away. And one of the answers the fellow gave me, who seemed to know what they were doing, was, oh, well, if it comes to it, we're just going to have to divert onto the 857 over the bridge culvert at the 857 and back onto the haul route. And I goes, okay, that's a strange answer, considering your haul route is to keep the 857 clear. So again, along with SSEN, peat extraction and everything, if they're going to do it, a bit concerning. And we'd have to really find out for sure what they're going to do, because I don't think they know. Okay, and also, as for going through sort of, I said to him, do you realise where your haul route is going? It's going through actual, well, what you call our reseeding, which is the extension to Crofts. And he says, oh, we'll discuss that with the land agent. And I said, well, I think you should be discussing it with the Croft tenants before you discuss it with the land agents, or both. Because that is Croft land, you're going through there, right beside the main road. It's also going through a lot of peat banks. So I says, you've got to really take that into consideration, and you have to go and start speaking to these people. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I agree with you. There's a lot of unanswered questions. We did get an invite to their consultation events. I've set up a separate meeting with them to go over our main concerns over Hall Road, what it's going to be, the very points that you're raising as well about river crossings. If there is going to be a path that's going to be left, then you can't just stop at a river.
No.
So all these points you're raising, we will raise them from a roads perspective as well.
Yeah, it'd be good if the local councillors in our area would be, invited along to hear what they've got to say. Myself, Kenny Sweeney, and that, the ward councillors.
Okay. I think first of all we'll have a meeting with them as officers, and then we'll have an update with yourselves. And,
okay.
And same with Councillor Morrison's concerns as well. We'll keep you up to date what we're finding it as officers, and then if we feel it's necessary to have maybe a ward type meeting, then seek some advice on that.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not a member of your committee. I sometimes worry, Carla, when you talk about Point and Broad Bay. I don't know how Broad Bay managed to get sequestered by the Bacchus and the folk in Tostan town, because without Point there wouldn't be a bay. But that's that's not an argument I've got here. I think it's important, the concerns that have been raised by John Norman and Angus about our conditions in the planning application in principle that was agreed last week, that we keep everybody in the chamber informed. The conditions 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18 prevent SSEN from going ahead until a CTMP construction traffic management plan has been agreed. So, we need to be part of the not part of the discussions, but we need to be appraised of the situation as it's developing, because I think it's very important, because the folk in Lochs and Harris as well have particular concerns about the management of that particular traffic system. So, we have the tools at our disposal to enforce the conditions that we want to see. So I think we need to make sure that they are being enforced. They're of great concern to everybody. I think Angus brings it up every time, and he's quite right to do so, because that's going to affect a particular stretch of road that's a busy stretch of road. So, again, just make sure that the conditions that we've attached to the planning permission in principle, we stick to them, and we keep everybody in this chamber aware of how things are progressing, so that it's agreed by us in here as to how the implementation of these conditions, and we're holding our feet to the fire to make sure that they're sticking to the conditions that we've attached. I'd also like to thank you on behalf of Point for the work that's going ahead at the Bry and down at Pontygoran. I think Finley's been in touch since the beginning of the year. We've managed to get the guys down to fix the lights in Pontygoran Pier. We've got the work on the slipway progressing nicely as well. So thank you on behalf of the residents of Point for getting around to doing that. I know it's not been cheap probably either, but we're very grateful. So thanks for that.
Right. Any comment back to Norman?
It's nice to be thanked, but now I will get other members, I'm sure, asking what I'm doing there. No, I mean, we do. I mean, as I brought up at the start there, we've got specific challenges with the infrastructure we have, and I appreciate it does take time to get round to do things. We would like to do everything that all you would like to do as members within your wards as well, but the financial challenges are what hold us back a lot of the time. But when we can do work, then it's good to see it progressing well. So
I didn't
thank
mean to
you.
embarrass you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald.
Tapla Taramet, Kistikins Biela. Oh, Kenneth, Kenya Chilina. Kenneth.
Online. Hi, it's just going back to the fibre rollout you're talking about. You mentioned folks having to sign up or being able to sign up ahead of time. What do you mean by sign up? Do you mean register an interest, or do you mean buy a package that they're going to pay for a product that they can't get yet?
I mean register interest.
Okay, thank you.
Happy with that, Kenneth?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Dinges Biela, Aniel, Cleva, for the Veluja Committee, where Puila Gundige and Ash Ghost Tanier. Now, Tapla. Whisper Shia, Fisrige Muscutel. Hanash Geminige Oosters Lepachke Gescutel, being Havig, Comhairle, Auskuschen, Ele, Comhairle, the Scutel. Bini Colm Fischels and Ashke is fick the Kisten Sabi. Colm.
Thank you, Chair. The details are all in the report, so I won't say much more about it. I'll just highlight the main issues. Obviously, we've highlighted the kind of upcoming ban on BMW waste, which is coming in force on the 1st of January 2026. SEPA have kind of allowed kind of temporary kind of derogations to that, for a better word. So it's allowing for up to 2 years, and we can apply for 6 months at a time. So we've applied for the first 6 months and don't envisage any issues applying for further extensions. It gives a Comhairle more time to consider wider options for dealing with this type of waste, and ensures that there is more mainland energy from waste facilities and capacity if we need to go down that route. The other area is the Comhairle is obviously getting extended producer responsibility money this year of 3.5 million from PAC UK towards the cost of dealing with packaging waste. The details of this have been previously reported, and it is proposed that we use some of the money to replace some older waste plant and vehicles. So happy to take any questions, Chair.
Tapla Colm, Kistik Dinges Sabi, the Colm. Ian Specher Gumus, all the say, Kistik.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether, if we hadn't received this funding, did we not have a plan to replace all that plant and equipment anyway? It must have a lifespan. Surely you must plan that in.
Thank you, Chair. There was plans in place, but just given with savings in that, they haven't been replaced at the frequency we would like. So the cost of repairing these older bits of equipment are kind of adding additional costs. So it's a chance to replace them and kind of we are working towards a kind of wider fleet replacement policy as well. So it'll help with that as well.
Yeah. I think so.
Aye, leave that. News, maar hoe is dus de solid kutje? Vehicle case.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question really on the pressure from landfill. I know we discussed some time ago maybe the used waste being diverted somewhere else rather than coming across the ferry and across the road to Stornoway. Are we going any further with that, Mr. Fraser?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. There is the kind of treatment plant down in used, the Advotech treatment plant. It was hoped to be operational earlier this year, but it's meant to be getting finally commissioned next week. The aim of that is it'll produce a waste that can go to the mainland kind of energy from waste plants, or one of the things we're trying to see if it still can be landfilled, because obviously it's the cost implications of putting it to the mainland or for landfill. So that it will reduce the volume of waste. So if we are shipping it up to Lewis landfill, it will be about 40% of the volume, or half the volume that we're currently shipping.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you.
He just answered my question before I got to ask it. So
Is Vela and Neil. Right, I will pull gundig in de molleen ek 3 pointe hun. Daar bleef Kuspere Sheikh, Shedevischen Wes. En als son fisrachug ours display takrian, kunrian, ves leus is den perige, vis en saas en daver shia dichit. An náis gemeenigug na pasken takri en sorachug an a faskivige hun gen maask. Agus bín colmfish agus an náis agus ficti kisten sabé. Colm.
Thank you, Chair. Again, most of the information is in the report. I'll just a summary. So the contracts are due for renewal next year, and this is to provide the Comhairle with an update. The transport team have kind of surveyed operators and are following up with meetings this week with some of them, and in personal interviews, and we'll be looking to arrange member operator meetings where requested or required. So that's something we'll be discussing at the next member officer working group. The public consultation is still live and closes next week, so we'll provide feedback through the MOUG when that comes in. I mean, certain evening services are currently funded through Crown Estate funding, and we're looking to incorporate them more into the operator design lots, but there is a risk of reduced evening or overall services if the current funding is not considered as part of the process. So there are, as Mr. Mackenzie highlighted, there's significant financial challenges across, so that'll apply possibly to the bus contract and tendering process as well. Appendix 1 details the proposed preliminary lots, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, tablet colm kishtik din is be.
Okay, Tapaloi Shekhabike. Question here for Colm. I'm just seeing in when the contracts were awarded in 2019, the award price was for example, the first one, the NES was side one, 419, and now the current price is 559. Can you explain why that is the case? And it seems to be the case for all the routes. There's quite a substantial increase. Is it because of fuel or?
Colm?
Thanks, Chair. I can ask Jim to come in if you need further detail, but I think there's an escalator built into the contracts which increases the price based on fuel and other kind of external costs. It is what was agreed at the beginning of the contract, and it's a certain percentage every year.
Jim is
just present.
Thank you. The subsidy adjuster is 60% of wages, 15% fuel, and the rest is based on CPI. And there's a figure worked out for every 12 months for the subsidy adjuster for each contract. It's so that they don't front load contracts when they put in the initial bid. They've got the protection of the inflation increases.
Yeah. Kishtik.
Yeah, just it's more an observation rather than at numerous meetings, certainly yesterday with the sustainable development one, where one of the concerns with housing developments is the lack of public transport, and certainly it's one of the challenges and issues that's come to me since becoming a councillor is lack of public transport in certain areas, holding people back from moving to an area. And if we're all we're going to be going for, and I appreciate the costs, is the exact same routes and same areas, then we're still going to be in the same place as we had. And I'm just wondering, is there something we can do to find a way of enhancing our provision of public transport to ensure that we are building houses, or where houses are being built, that buses are serving them. Otherwise, the only people going to go to these houses will be people with their own transport, and certainly folk employed will be owning their own and have to have their own transport. So if we're looking to reduce use of vehicles and everything, then surely we should be looking to improve our public transport, certainly to areas where there's housing and at times that suit the workers and people going to work.
Colin?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, yes, that would be the ideal, but would, I suppose, trying to accommodate that within the kind of finances available. I mean, we are kind of, there is liaison with the transport team, with the developments, where houses are, and looking at bus stops, etc. But the actual frequency and number of kind of buses going to these locations will probably come down to cost ultimately.
Weinig. Tolletje. Ze zullen goed gegeven. Is de dingen ze bijelen? En ja, die wel moeilijk kundige en naast van jaar. Was is de neske kuspere hoog, krootjen, en naast zo'n visserig en minige oorst processen, jalawe, rienig zoveel rootjen, ergens kolonien, wo gejech, aas, blionel, inneve, ergens roenjen, dan wil ik die het koken, die het, Kalen mag kiever het over niet zo naast, ik ben niet, houdt of wie ze dasje, ben je kalm ze dasje.
Thank you, Chair. The report in front of you here has an awful lot of information in it. The headlines being that in order to maintain or to improve the condition of our roads infrastructure, which includes the road pavings, footpaths, street lighting, signage, bridges, there's a significant investment required to improve the condition. Over the previous years, we've been trying to maintain a certain condition of asset. There's a lot of detail in this report, as I've said before. Colin's here, and he'll answer the questions with regards to any of these aspects. But I think the point I'm making is that when you read the report, you see significant amount of investment required to maintain the current condition, let alone try to improve our roads infrastructure. So I'll leave it to members to ask questions, or if Colin has anything further to add.
I don't have anything really to add to that, to be honest. The main thing is we're currently in the middle of a capital programme that was around about 5.5 million for roads. And you'll see in the report the annual steady state figure that's recommended for maintaining the condition of the road infrastructure at its current condition is 5.6 million a year. So that just gives you a picture of where we're at as far as investment's concerned, and we are trying our best to maintain the network as best we can. However, that budget is rapidly running thin. That's all I've got to say, really.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Just following on from we heard there about the capital programme and capital spend. I mean, given the state of our roads and knowing the position we are with capital funds at the moment, where we've got quite a lot of savings in capital, from what I'm reading it, could we reinvest some of the capital that we haven't spent into a road network to improve a road network?
Yes, always.
One of the areas of work that we do at the asset investment team is to look at the amount of capital that we have, where we are with the committed capital. So what is committed to projects and not getting spent for whatever reason. But there is an element of unallocated capital just now, which we discussed on Monday this week. So there are a number of priority areas as well. So it's not just roads that we have priorities to spend on as well. So the kind of things that we were discussing on Monday were looks of adaptations, looking at equipment for education. So there are competing priorities. So what we try to do is, as officers, work out these priorities and then take them back to yourselves for a decision on where the money should be spent. So I think that'll come back to yourselves as members to decide where any unallocated capital would go.
Ich weet nu Mar Stofficash on Tinestay. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to sound too mysterious, but members are aware that there is some work going on with Scottish Government, with the other two islands councils, much of which is focused on the infrastructure needs of the islands, all Scotland's islands councils, in addition to the pots of money which we have been awarded and which we are seeking. And as Mr. Mackenzie's pointed out, most of the Community Renewal Partnership funding will be spent in Euston Borough, and most of that on roads infrastructure. So I think our capital commitment to roads infrastructure has to be looked at across all these budget headings. But as has been pointed out, our buildings are also in need of significant attention. But I think once the results of some of that work is known, we should be able to look at a whole picture of the capital resources available to the Comhairle. That might include, who knows, in future, the capacity for some borrowing to enable capital investment. So while I'm not in any way putting this off, there is work going on, as members are aware, around infrastructure funding support, which I think in the long run will be very helpful to this debate. Thank you, Chair.
Welcome. No shout. Dolticular. Yeah. Kishtek dinges a beel genich. Skumus all the second.
Yeah, just to thank Callum and the rest of the team there for the work on the roads. It's a thankless task. We're short of money. It's probably one of the biggest concerns and issues we get as councillors is we want better roads. But keeping what we have in a decent condition is an even bigger challenge. So I just want to thank you for the work your team is doing in certainly responding to all the challenges. Every time we've asked, we've had works done. So we could do it more, obviously, but this is prelude to maybe coming to ask for something. But I just wanted to acknowledge the work that is being done to maintain this valuable asset to keep our islands moving.
Thank you, Councillor Clyde.
But that's on shit. That's two thanks to me. Ségur Kishtek dinges a beel Eilean, Harit. So we're bui lagundig as Horst Fanier. Ja. Cusper an Rianach Yanatish, agus show Ashkin has to heen, agus a show son Fisrachug, and you listen to World Kishtik, then you submit that sleep show. And yet, Leva Berkichi a comedy in Gusper Lennis, na glistenes mar vors na Eilean, Ask and Yech enemichte. Ballum partu Chonachonu Huye Commander Davy Phillips for safeboards. Ach blini Calamach König is an Ask Ban and Doshach, agus mun askrute is code sammeltich ek pusht, agus geisen mar ha minichte ek faskive gehoon. Het in een oorsen en de diaan waar kopechtige Ask nech enemichte, dan wil ik ook riefen, maar ha minichte ek faskive gegaan.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add my own thanks to Commander Phillips for coming along with us today, and as well to introduce Ian McNeill, who is our Assistant Harbour Master. He has snuck in at the back of the room there. Commander Phillips has been assisting us over the last number of years in compliance with the Port Marine Safety Code. The code has been revised this year. Now the Port Marine Facility Safety Code, but still has the same acronym. Commander Phillips has been providing us with reports on a number of our facilities and reporting as to our compliance with the code, which to date the code has remained compliant with the Port Marine Safety Code. The appendix to the report is in private, and if we move to private just now, it'll allow Commander Phillips to go into much more detail on the report and also to highlight the responsibilities of the Harbour Board in relation to compliance with the code.
Leva, het in je nest aan de diawer go perkige fasgive ga kuspere teeg, kuspere hundiek, je streetdiek. Behoort een hafelken spoiler, om het die voedig, hier in het hoog compaar stille,